Aloha, it's CreativeNameToStandOut again with another battle report. This time bringing you a 2,500 point game between my Pyre Legion and an opponent's Vampire Count's army. This is the same Vampire Count's army I played about 2 battle reports ago, so this will be a nice little rematch. He's changed it up a bit. He's decked out his Vampire in different ways, so I don't have to go against that Mega Killy Vampire Lord I did last time, but it's still going to be kind of mean, as you can see from his list I posted up. So let's start with deployment. Starting on the left flank, we have his first unit of 38 ghouls, and then a unit of warhounds. And then in the back there we have a unit of black knights, and in there will be his White King BSB and his Vampire Lord. Moving on to the center, we have another unit of dire wolves, then a unit of 38 ghouls, and inside that unit will be, I think, the level 4 necromancer and a vampire. And then moving over to the far right, we can see his 7 hex wraiths. So moving on to my deployment, starting on my left flank, we have my 24 Chaos Warriors. They're not completely done yet. As I record this, they're way further along than they are in this picture. And I'm using that Dragon Ogre as a unit filler. Not sure if I'm going to keep it that way or just go ahead and fill it up with warriors. We'll see in the future how I make up my mind. But in front of that unit will be a unit of Flamers. Beside there is the unit of Screamers. Then you can see I have 12 Marked of Khorne warriors out front. Behind them is the Bloodthirster, so they're all put together. That's nice. And then over to the right, you can see my 12 warriors Mark of Tzeentch. Inside that unit will be Kekus the Pyromancer, and there's not a picture of it, but way further to the right of this unit will be my 4 Dragon Ogres. Vampire Counts win the roll off to go first, and he starts moving everything up, but just slightly. He doesn't really move too aggressively. So we jump at the magic phase. I'll show you a picture of the end of the movement phase after this. It's a pretty big magic phase for him. He gets off Dance Macabre. I'm not too scared of that because we're not going to be in combat just yet. I do try to stop him to gash his gaze because he's going to try to knock out some of my skirmishers before I get a first turn. And then he's going to raise dead despite my attempts to stop him. So this is what the board's going to look like overall after his movement phase. Like I said, it's pretty conservative. He does now have a block of zombies there in the center. And that's pretty much his turn. He has no shooting. So we go into my turn, and this is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and try to push my stuff up. I'm not looking to charge anything just yet. I do have to take a frenzy test, though, for my Khorne Bloodthirster, and unfortunately, I fail. And I had a reroll for that, too, and it's just so infuriating. I learned my lessons from previous games that I don't want to get too aggressive with the Bloodthirster, but now I have no choice about it. So I declare a charge against the dogs, figuring that's a longer charge. Maybe I'll fail it. I think I need a 10 to get to him, but unfortunately I do make it. So there goes my Bloodthirster. He's upset from the last game, I'm sure, and wants to get into the thick of it right away. And as you can see, the Reign of Chaos capitalizes on that theme. And so here we are in the magic phase. I try to use one of the many missiles I have to kill off those hex wraiths. I get off irresistibly, losing all my dice, and I kill the hex wraiths down to 3. We go into the combat, and of course the Bloodthirster kills the dire wolves easy, and we get a look of the board from the left and going to the right. Now I've kept my Dragon Ogres over here, and I have the Screamers over here just to make sure that those hex wraiths don't get into my backfield unchecked. So that's why I have everybody facing like they do. Now the Dragon Ogres can't hurt them, but I can at least lock them into place and get the Screamers there to deal with them. Vampire Count's turn 2 starts off with Vampire Lord and his Black Knights charging the flank of the Bloodthirster. This is terrible for me. Whenever the Bloodthirster in these few games I've played gets on his own, he's not able to take on as much as I would like him to. So he's in trouble, hoping to kill as many characters as I can before he goes down. Then he charges the dire wolves into the flamers. Not too worried about this. I think the flamers are better. And then he also charges his free unit of zombies into the flank of Kekus and the Chaos Warriors. So here's a look at the rest of the units moving around here, trying to block off any support I might help with the that might help the Bloodthirster later in the game in case he does stick around. And we jump into Magic. So Magic is pretty one-sided here because he casts a spell of the Irresistible Force, that's Dance Macabre, and that's really going to help him move that unit that he moved forward to just definitely block my large block of Tzeentch Warriors from supporting the Bloodthirster in case he's still around. Here we are in close combat, and I'm just in trouble. Now, I looked at this during the game, and I was thinking, man, I'm screwed no matter what I do. So I'm just going to try to kill all his characters. But now looking at it, I definitely should have challenged. Because I'm going to minimize all the attacks no matter who accepts the challenge, whether it's a champion or a character. It's going to lessen the amount of attacks. So there's going to be a chance that I could still be around because I might overcome the combat res that's stacked against me, which I think is standing at 7 right now. And I'm generating a ton of attacks. Otherwise, he could also just refuse, still get all those attacks in, but then I could like throw the other Trickster Shard girl to the back, and I won't have to reroll my ward saves. I could use my attacks to kill off one of the other characters, and maybe there's still a chance I could win. I could be alive afterwards. But as it is, I do none of that because I don't offer the challenge because I just figure I'm screwed. And sure enough, even though I kill the other Trickster Shard vampire, I do end up dying in the end. So this is where they overrun, and we go into the next combat, which is going to be the free zombie unit against these warriors. Now, here, we did the combat, and I think we forgot that I get to attack, and so we did his attacks, then we generated combat res. I failed. I got ran down by these zombies, but that was so horrible. It was great. We were both laughing afterwards, but then we were thinking about it, like we both thought about it for a second, and we realized I didn't get my full amount of attacks back, so I got to redo it, and I ended up winning by 1. So I am still there. I reformed to face them, but man, it was a heart sink, but it was hilarious. I felt like when my Chaos Warriors with their Chaos Sorcerer Lord lost to these zombies, these free unit of zombies, and got ran down. So that's that, and we go into the final combat where the Flamers beat up the dogs, so nothing exciting there. When you bring a Bloodthirster in your army list, it's such a focus in the army list, and of course it's so many points that you really, really feel it when he's down. You feel like you're definitely in an uphill battle afterwards. So, after these 3 or 4 games, I realized he's a very strong part of the army, but he's also pretty fragile. You can't just go out there like a 1+ rerollable Chaos Lord or something. So you have to be pretty delicate with what you do, but he can definitely be a great combat multiplier. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a little bit more of a high risk desperation move, and I'm going to charge these knights with the Khorne Warriors here, and I'm also going to charge the Dragon Ogres on the flank, or in their front, and the Warriors there in the flank. That's what I meant to say. Also, as you can see in this picture, the Tzeentch Warriors charge these ghouls, and I move up my Screamers just to try to kill off these Hex Wraiths. So I do declare these charges. The Dragon Ogres unfortunately fall short. That's too bad. They are kind of Knight Killers because they have such a high strength attacks. And now I got these Strength 4 Khorne Warriors in the flank, which is a great combat res, but when he moves his characters over, I'm just not going to be able to do a lot of damage. Punished by the god. It's not my fault that Khorne just decided to run out there on his own. Thankfully, despite Khorne's hissy fit, I'm able to pass my leadership test, and we go on to combat. You'll notice there isn't a magic phase, and that's because most of my spells are magic missiles, and the direct damage spells I do have, unfortunately, I can't use because Kekus is now facing the wrong direction. He's facing kind of towards the left of the table, and all my targets are in front of me. So we resolve this combat right away, and I'm easily able to kill these zombies now that I'm facing the zombie unit with my whole unit of warriors. Then we move on to the combat between the ghouls and the Tzeentch marked warriors that are board and shield, and I kill a ton of them, but they're still there. And then we move on to the big combat. So we go into this combat, and I get into a challenge because I'm Chaos. I have to offer them. His Vampire Lord politely accepts that challenge, and we all know how that's going to go. The Vampire Lord's going to win. This game's actually going to be a bunch of challenges, so I'll go ahead and put up a challenge tally here, and we'll see how it goes for the rest of the game. Otherwise, the rest of the battle, the rest of the combat goes against me. He gets a lot of overkill here. He kills a couple Chaos Warriors with his regular knights and such. and I'm just not able to do a lot of wounds because he has a 1+ armor save, I think. And so I do flee, unfortunately, but he does not run into my other unit, which ends up actually being a really bad thing. Now, I do say it is a bad thing. I'm not entirely sure who it's worse for, but I know somebody loses the most out of this scenario. He declares this charge. He's so close he can't wheel in for his whole unit to get into combat with me. But it does wheel in such a way that only his 2 characters are in base contact with my unit. And then I'm going to have to offer a challenge, which is going to be my Sorcerer Lord, because I feel like I can hold up the Vampire with a 3+ ward save. And so that's going to rob us of both of a bunch of attacks. But he's still going to get supporting attacks into my unit while I'm only going to be able to allocate to his White King. So I don't know who it's worse for. I think it probably will be him. So another charge he declared was with these ghouls into the Screamers. It was a really easy charge. Thankfully, he failed. So this is going to be a key magic phase for me to stop. I go ahead and I stop him from getting rerolls in the combats nearby, and I also keep him from refilling his units from the wounds I've already given him, especially on the left side with those Tzeentch Warriors against the ghouls. So we go into this combat. We start with the challenge first. I feel like this is a great character for me to have right now to tank these wounds because I have a 3+ ward save. He only wounds me twice, but unfortunately I fail both saves. So I have 2 wounds. This is not good for the long term, but at least I'm still alive. Wished it could have gone better. The rest of the combat doesn't really go too badly in my favor, but unfortunately he does kill one more guy. That's 3 wounds, a charge, a BSB, and a rank he has on me. Plus he has a little effect on one of his vampires that gives me -1 to my leadership check. So unfortunately I'm going to need to roll Snake Eyes, and I do it. So this is fantastic. I'm still in the game. Now I can send in some Dragon Ogres to support, and if I can just hold them here a little bit longer, I have a big block of troops here on the left that can also help out. So we go into Pyre Legion turn 3, and that's exactly what I do. I send the Dragon Ogres into the flank. I fly these Screamers over the ghouls, do a couple wounds. I bring the Flamers up for later. They're not going to do anything this round. And I rally my Khorne warriors who had fled the turn before. So we look over here. We see that the Dragon Ogres did make it into combat. I love this because the Vampire Lord is stuck in a challenge. The Wraith, the BSB's Wraith can't make way because he's already in combat with my warriors. So I'm going to get all these attacks against the Knights, and there's only 2 Knights that are going to be able to attack my Dragon Ogres. I think they're in the most perfect position they could possibly be in. Perfect, except for the fact I fail a fear test. The unit I'm fighting causes terror because of the Wailing Banner. I cause fear, so that knocks it down to fear, and I fail it. So now I'm weapon skill 1 against these Knights. On top of that, one of the little leadership tricks he has makes a model reroll successful hits, so one of my Dragon Ogres is going to be doing that because he fails that leadership. So as you can see here, I only kill 2 Knights. He ends up killing a couple of my warriors. Then we look over to the challenge, and Kaykus died. He did 3 wounds. I was bound to fail 1 just by dice averages, and that's what you got there. Luckily, even though I do lose this, I again stick. So that means as long as I can hold out again, I can bring in some more reinforcements. As of right now, those reinforcements are still stuck with the last of these ghouls and that Necromancer, but I'm feeling confident in his turn I can kill these guys, turn to face, and then in my turn charge. We go into Vampire Count's turn 4, and all he really has to do is charge this horde of ghouls into my Dragon Ogres, which he promptly fails. We then go into Magic. He starts off with his level 2, trying to get off the Invocation. He gets it off, but it's irresistible, and he also loses the spell. So after I kill off his Necromancer level 4 in this combat that's coming up, he's really not going to have much of a magic phase. That brings us to the combat with the Black Knights and my Chaos Warriors. My champion has to offer a challenge. This time he accepts with those White King, allowing his Vampire Lord to go to town against my Dragon Ogres. I lose again. Again, my unit stands its ground. Yeah, but the Dragon Ogres do fail and run away. Here's an overview of the board. As we go into Pyre Legion turn 4, I'm going to declare 1 charge, and that's going to be the Warriors into the flank of those Knights. I then will move the Screamers over the ghouls just to redirect them so that they can't help out the Knights. And as you can also see, the Dragon Ogres rallied. I also bring up the Flamers just to possibly get in the way if they need to later in the game. And then we consult the Chaos Gods. So it looks like the Chaos Gods see that momentum is on my side, and we jump into this combat. So I offer a challenge with my BSB. His Vampire Lord accepts. That's perfect because this guy's pretty tanky. He has a 1-up rerollable armor save, which is going to be a 3-up against this Vampire Lord, and then a 5+ ward. So we get into the challenge, and he does what he's supposed to do. He just tanks those wounds, doesn't take any, and I even do a wound to the Vampire Lord. As far as the rest of the combat goes, I just destroy the unit. There's nothing left. There's no more Black Knights. His Vampire Lord already has a wound on him. His Wraith's untouched right now. But finally, checkmate. So my opponent can't really do much. He's not going to be able to help out his 2 characters. He does charge these demons. They're just going to redirect. He doesn't have really any magic because he has that one spell that shoots magic missiles. And so he gets in this combat. He destroys the demons and he overruns in the Dragon Ogres. They're pretty much going to be out of it. And let's get into this combat. Yep, I die. There's not much I can say about it. I tank it pretty well the first round. This time around, I just don't. So add to that, he does kill the last guy, the last halberd from my other unit, and I actually lose this combat. The thing that's helping him, I'm not hurting his White Knight because he has all these stacking leadership test abilities, like the -1 overall if I'm within 6 inches, rolling 3 dice and having to discard the lowest for fear tests. So I'm actually failing fear tests throughout this game because of these little abilities, and I'm just not able to hit this character with the few amount of models that I have. So I actually lose combat here after being in such a great position last turn, and that's pretty much the end of that. So yeah, we go into Pyre Legion turn 5, and I have to issue a challenge with my Sword and Board champion, which is White King accepts. That's going to leave his Vampire Lord one-on-one against my unit of Khorne Berserkers. He's just going to kill them so fast, and he's going to help him out with his combat res. So he's going to win this combat again. I'm going to pass my leadership checks, and then we're going to go over to the ghouls against the Dragon Ogres. I kill some ghouls, but there's so many attacks, and I think they're poisoned, so they go down also. But still, the ghouls are pretty much out. It's just I'm just bleeding points now and hoping the game ends. These rolls on the Reign of Chaos table are just too good, since it seems like the game is self-aware and realizes things aren't going so well for the Chaos side. We go into combat, he kills off the last of the Khorne warriors, I end up losing, I do stick, I am stubborn, and we jump into Pyre Legion turn 6, where I go, you know what, I'll charge them back with these Screamers. They suck in combat, but you know what, I have a rear charge, which is 3 points, I have the flank, which is 4, I have 3 ranks, which puts me at 7, and a banner at 8. His BSB is going to cancel out my banner, that puts me at 7. You know what, I have a pretty good chance of just killing him through combat res, with his Vampire only having 1 wound on him. So sure enough, I go in there, my warriors and the demons tank off the Vampire wounds. He doesn't do anything, but we go into the challenge, and his White King does 3 wounds to my champion. He didn't kill him the last time, he does kill him in the last round. Those 3 wounds puts him down, he loses by 4. His BSB unfortunately means that he rolls it up to a 3. So those 3 wounds get distributed like shooting, and unfortunately it goes 2 on the White King, 1 on the Vampire Lord. So we end the game with each of his characters on 1 wound, and I was wishing for another turn. In the end, the Vampire Counts do win it, and they win it pretty convincingly here, as you can see. This was just a crazy game, and it was so fun. This is probably one of my favorite games that I've played so far. Man, it was just a lot of fun. I can't believe how everything worked out. All the challenges were great, and yeah, the game was in my grasp plenty of times. There was a time where I thought I had sealed it, and just things fell apart, and I almost came back and got it again. So just a game of back and forth, and that was great. So I really hope everybody enjoyed this battle report. I thank everybody for watching. I appreciate everybody's likes, comments, and subscriptions, and like always, I'll have another one out next week.